Making headlines this hour, President announces the government's plan to carry out a national program aimed at promoting Islamic unity and history and boosting religious and national spirit amongst Muslims. Chinese ambassador to the Maldives Wang Fukang pays a courtesy call on Foreign Minister Dr. Muhammad Asim. And Pakistani officials say that an Afghan diplomat has been shot dead in Afghan consulate in Pakistan's southern city of Karachi.
Good evening and welcome to Nightly News on Television Maldives with me, Fatmat Sara. President Abdul Qayyum says his administration intends to carry out a national program promoting Islamic unity and history and to boost a religious and national spirit among Maldivians, especially students and youth. He stated that the project will commence in the following months. The President made the announcement in his annual presidential address today at the opening session of the People's Majlis for 2017.
President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum said that an increased number of impactful development projects have been carried out within the last year at an unprecedented speed. He stated that the biggest social challenge faced in the Maldives is a shortage of housing, and as part of the administration's social housing projects, construction of a total of 1,500 housing units have been completed in Hulumale, Gafalif Viningili, Gaftal Tinadu, Yaviani Formula, and Addu City. The President also said that the construction of a total of 600 housing units in Shaviani Komandu, Ramaduvari, Ba'e the Fushi, Laviani Hinnavaru, Laviani Nafaru, Dal Midu, Dal Kudahuadu, and Addu City Fedu is scheduled to commence during this year. In his address, the President highlighted the government's undertakings to overcome the challenges being faced by the Maldivian people and for national development. He spoke extensively on the milestones achieved and the government's future plans in the social, economic, and urban development sectors. President Yamin further shed light on projects carried out during the last year to increase economic investment in the Maldives, stating that major investments projects were undertaken towards improving airport and seaport facilities to ease the transportation difficulties in the Maldives. He also stated that the administration has spent a total of $900 million within the past 3 years for the development of Velana International Airport. Concluding the address, the President stated that the main aim of the administration is to develop and to enhance the quality of life within the community and the prompt fulfillment of the pledges by the government to the public. He said the administration accords a top priority to ensure that the Maldives is a welcoming climate for all kinds of investments. He further highlighted that during its first 3 years, his administration has undertaken several successful developmental projects across the country and reiterated to the members of parliament that the administration will continue to constantly work on bringing prosperity to the country in the coming days.
President Abdul Qayyum says that the government carried out various projects last year to provide educational and employment opportunities for youth and further strengthen the health sector. He revealed it in his annual address delivered at the opening of Parliament held at Darubaruge Convention Centre today.
President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum in his address to Parliament shed light on the work carried out by the administration to train the youth population for the job market. He said that within the past 3 years, socio-economic urban development projects and productivity increasing initiative undertaken by the administration have created an estimate of 64,000 jobs for the youth all over the country. He also stated that it is one of the key pledges of the administration to create 94,000 jobs under the Youth Manifesto. Taking into account the number of resorts to be opened this year, as well as the main projects to be commenced, The President highlighted that 2017 will be rich in job opportunities. He further said that with the changes brought to the education system regarding capability, skills and needs of school-aged children and to include all children in the school system, a vocational stream was introduced whereby 40% of students are now enrolled in skills training for different industries in the Maldives. In his address, President Yami noted that last year the administration accorded the highest priority towards establishing all new health services at IGMH. He said under the effort, IGMH established and commenced services of the National Cardiac Center with a National Urorenal and Fertility Center, also established where patients are being treated for kidney diseases and renal issues. Speaking further, the President highlighted that last year, the commencement of digital X-ray services at IGMH realized an important step towards the use of the latest technology in treatment. President Yamin also shed light on the progress of the development work within the Special Economic Zone and stated that a detailed development plan for the I-Heaven project, which is to be commenced in the north of the Maldives, will be completed by April this year. He also said that this will be followed by a drive to secure foreign investments in order to commence a physical work on the project.
Home Minister Azlin Ahmad says the country will witness unimagined socio-economic development if President Abdul Yamin Abdul Qayyum is given the opportunity to serve another term. He said the government is committed to work towards realizing the socio-economic development sought by the people. Speaking about the presidential address delivered at the opening session of Parliament today, Minister Azlin said that President Abdul Yamin's administration has brought peace, harmony and prosperity to the country with the much-needed development. Referring to the national program announced by the President to boost religious and national spirit amongst Maldivians, the minister said that the President's office is already working to roll out the program. He said the program will bring about positive changes to the society. The minister added that the government aims to ensure all citizens are given equal rights and opportunities, and its achievements are evident across all sectors. Minister of Foreign Affairs announces that the third meeting of Maldives-Sri Lanka Joint Commission will be held from February 8th to 9th in Male City. According to the Ministry, Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Mohammad Asim will lead the Maldivian delegation, while the Sri Lankan delegation will be headed by Minister of Foreign Affairs Mangala Samaravira. The Maldives-Sri Lanka Joint Commission was established in 1984 with the primary aim of improving bilateral relations in all spheres. The first session of the Joint Commission was held in 2006, and this session will be an opportunity for the Maldives and Sri Lanka to further strengthen their partnership. An agreed minutes will be signed to conclude the Joint Commission meeting at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Chinese ambassador to Maldives, Wang Fukang, pays a courtesy call on Foreign Minister Dr. Mohammad Asim. During the meeting held at the Foreign Ministry, Minister Asim and Ambassador Fukang discussed ways to further strengthen the strong relations between the two countries. This year marks the 45th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the Maldives and China. Foreign Minister Asim was accompanied by Secretary Bilateral Ambassador Ahmad Halil and Director at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Ahmad Fazil. Ministry of Environment and Energy has signed a contract with Thanaka Corporation Limited for the surveying and construction of sewage facilities in 4 islands. Under the contract, sewerage networks will be established in Bileddu of Faf Atoll, in Namadu of Rai Atoll, Fiwang of Shavian Atoll, and Madaveli of Gafdal Atoll. The contract was signed by Minister of Environment and Energy Tariq Ibrahim and Managing Director of Thanaka Corporation Limited Ahmad Sharif. According to the ministry, a 2 million rupiah project will be completed within 3 months from the signing of the contract. Ooredoo Maldives and Fine Taxi announced a partnership to support M-FASA as the method of payment for taxi fare. At a ceremony held today at Ooredoo headquarters, the partnership agreement was signed by owner of Fine Taxi, Ahmed Shihad, and head of sales at Ooredoo Maldives, Hussein Niaz. Ooredoo Maldives says that under the partnership, all taxis operating under Fine Taxi will support Ooredoo M-Pesa as a method of payment, allowing customers to use the secure and convenient service to make payments instantly using their mobile devices. Ooredoo Maldives head of sales Hussein Niaz said the new partnership goes in alignment with their vision of a digital Maldives and that they are very pleased to partner with Fine Taxi to provide their customers with the convenience and ease of M-Pesa right from their mobile phones. Owner of Fine Taxi Ahmed Shihad said the partnership enables digital payments for taxi services, and Fine Taxi is proud to be the first taxi service provider to partner with Ooredoo to start this useful service. Guided by Ooredoo's vision towards a digital Maldives, M-Pesa was launched in July 2016 with the aim of providing local communities an easy, secure and affordable way to manage day-to-day financial transactions through their mobile devices. The service enables transactions to be carried out via a mobile account, a digital wallet tied to the customer's mobile number and identification card. Maldives Customs Services says the country saw notable increases in imports, exports and import duty collection during 2016. Customs revealed the records in its annual statistic report published on its website.
Statistics released by the Maldives Customs Services show that the value of goods exported in 2016 increased by 7% compared to the previous year. Data shows approximately 3.7 billion rupiah worth of goods were exported in 2015, whereas in 2016 the figure was recorded at 3.9 billion rupiah. Among the top exporting countries, Thailand recorded the highest with 33%, Sri Lanka and Singapore were listed second and third with 11% and 9% respectively. The total revenue collected through customs duty and other fees and fines in 2016 showed an increase of 8% compared to that of 2015. A total of 2.6 billion rupiah was collected through customs duty in 2016, whereas in 2015 it was 2.4 billion rupiah. According to customs, an increase of 12% was seen in the CIF value of goods imported in 2016 compared to that of 2015. A total of 34 billion rupiah worth of goods were imported in 2016, whereas in 2015 it was 31 billion rupiah. Machineries and electronics were the main commodities of goods that were imported last year, summing up at 6,758 million rupiah, which was 21% of imports last year. The statistics also showed that foods and other consumables ranks at the second, worth 6,402 million rupiah or 19%. Third most imported was fuel at 11%, which is worth 3,543 million rupiah. Customs attributed the main reason for the rise in machineries imports to the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge project. According to Customs, the highest number of goods were imported from United Arab Emirates, totaling up at 5,298 million rupiah, which was 16% of the imports last year. Singapore comes in second place and India comes in third, with a total import of 4,725 million rupiah or 14% and 4,238 million rupiah or 13% respectively.
Looking at news from international arena, Pakistani officials say that an Afghan diplomat has been shot dead in Afghan consulate in Pakistan's southern city of Karachi. The consulate's third secretary was killed by a private guard who had been arrested, police official Sagib Ismail told Reuters, adding that the guard was an Afghan national and using his automatic weapon. Another police official, Deputy Inspector General Azad Khan, told reporters off camera that the shooting appeared to be a result of a personal dispute. Afghan ambassador to Pakistan Omar Zahiwal confirmed the shooting on his official Facebook account. United Nations report says civilian casualties in Afghanistan rose to new highs in 2016, driven by more IS attacks, the most deaths and injuries from airstrikes since 2009. The United Nations Special Representative for Afghanistan, Tadamichi Yamamoto, said that civilian casualties in Afghanistan rose to new heights in 2016, driven by more IS attacks, the most deaths and injuries from airstrikes since 2009, and a rise in toll of child victims of unexploded ordnance. UN investigators said in an annual summary issued that a total of 3,498 civilians were killed in the conflict and 7,920 were wounded in 2016, a combined increase of 3% over the previous year.
I'm deeply saddened to report for yet another year another increase in civilian casualties, another all-time high figure for the number of civilian casualties. In 2016, UNAMA documented 11,418 civilian casualties, an overall 3% increase compared to the previous record high documented in 2015.
About 61% of all civilian casualties were caused by anti-government groups like the Taliban and IS, the report said. The United Nations attributed at least 4,953 deaths and injuries to the Taliban, but in a shift in 2016, investigators documented a tenfold increase in casualties caused by IS militants, who often target members of the Shia Muslim minority. At least 899 deaths and injuries were attributed to IS, which has been a relatively minor faction in Afghanistan, but last year launched an increasing number of suicide attacks.
I strongly condemn the deliberate and indiscriminate targeting of civilians on a sectarian basis by Daesh, who also go by the acronym of ISKL. They claimed the lives and maimed scores of civilians in 2016. Such acts are aimed at compounding the conflict and are directed at dividing the resilient Afghan society.
As the Afghan Air Force got more attack aircraft and the United States ramped up its air campaign against both IS and the Taliban, casualties caused by airstrikes increased 99% compared with 2015, hitting levels not seen since 2009. US officials have only acknowledged possible civilian casualties in one incident in Kunduz province in November, when the United Nations said as many as 32 non-combatants were killed and 26 wounded in a joint US-Afghan raid. Casualties among children spiked by 24% in 2016, with 923 dead and 2,589 wounded, largely as a result of a major increase in casualties from unexploded ordnance. Rohingya Muslims temporarily living in 2 new unregistered camps in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar district say they want to return to Myanmar and need the international community to help. The UN Humanitarian Office report said that around 66,000 people have fled from the Muslim-majority northern part of Rakhine state to Bangladesh since Myanmar's military launched a security operation in response to attacks on police border posts on October 9th. The plight of the stateless Rohingya, of whom 1.1 million live in apartheid-like conditions in Rakhine, has long been a source of friction between Myanmar and Bangladesh. The recent wave of refugees has joined more than 200,000 Rohingyas already living in official and makeshift camps, straining resources in one of Asia's poorest regions. Bangladesh says the refugees bring crime and a risk of disease. On Friday, both registered and unregistered Rohingya women and children queued up at a relief center run by the NGO Action Against Hunger, which seeks to help detect and prevent malnutrition with the help of other international aid donors. Rohingya have faced discrimination in Myanmar for generations. They are not classified as a distinct group under citizenship laws and are regarded instead as illegal immigrants from Bangladesh entitled only to limited rights. A UN investigation said security forces and police have committed mass killings and gang rapes and burned villages in northern Rakhine. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Zaid Ra'ad al-Hussein said Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi promised on to investigate. Myanmar has previously denied almost all allegations. Chinese and Syrian representatives signed 2 agreements on providing $16 million worth of humanitarian aid to the Syrian government. The agreements were signed by Chinese ambassador to Syria, Qi Qianjin, and head of Syrian Planning and International Cooperation Commission, Ahmad Sabuni, under which China will send 2 batches of humanitarian aid to Syria. According to Qi, the delivery of humanitarian aid will begin soon. During the agreement signing ceremony held in the PICC headquarters, Qi expressed happiness for providing humanitarian aid to Syria, saying China has been committed to providing the war-torn country with aid over the past few years. He pointed out the positive progress recently made in Syria, especially after the battle in the northern city of Aleppo, where the Syrian army succeeded to recapture the entire city after the rebels were dislodged towards rebel-held areas in the northern part of Syria. The ambassador was optimistic about the recent political efforts aiming at finding a solution to the crisis, referring to the recent Syrian talks in Astana, where the rebels and the Syrian government met face-to-face for the first time and agreed on a Russian-Turkish-sponsored ceasefire. He also mentioned the upcoming Syrian talks slated for later this month in Geneva, where a political solution is expected to be further discussed in the wake of success at the Astana talks. Saboni expressed on behalf of the Syrian government the gratitude toward the Chinese government and people. He spoke highly of the friendship between the two peoples and China's humanitarian spirit as a responsible great power. The supporters and opponents of US President Donald Trump face off in front of Trump Tower, New York City. Both sides all shouted out their slogans and tried to let the other side hear their opinions. Supporters of the president said that the country currently was too divided and Trump would be one to make things change. The face-off has reflected the growing tension in the United States after Donald Trump took office, especially after he came up with the travel ban. France's far-right party leader Marine Le Pen formally kicks off her presidential campaign with a promise to protect the country against globalization and religious fundamentalism if elected president. Speaking to the thousands of flag-waving supporters at the end of a 2-day rally in Lyon, Le Pen, leader of the nationalist National Front NS, laid out her vision for France, in which she stressed her definition of French identity and sovereignty. Serving up the themes of the National Front Party that have made her a leader in early polls of the presidential election, Le Pen blasted globalization, saying that it threatens the continuity of France as a free nation. She said to the cheering crowd at the Lyon Congress Center that economic globalization spreads individualism, religious fundamentalism and communitarianism, and that it denies French values and the principles most French people follow. In 144 commitments published at the start of the rally, Le Pen, who is running on a campaign slogan of "In the name of the people," proposed amending the constitution through referendum, leaving the zero zone and the sanction area, holding a referendum on European Union membership, and slashing immigration. However, an analyst pointed out that Le Pen's campaign pledges present little changes to those she made back in 2012. But in the meantime, the 48-year-old candidate has been capitalizing on the election of President Donald Trump in the United States and Britain's vote to leave the European Union, which seems to have helped catapult her party into the mainstream amid rising Euroscepticism, anti-immigration sentiment and terror fears in France. Rehearsing the themes familiar from Trump's win, the Brexit vote, Italy's referendum in December last year, and the first round of the Australian presidential election, Le Pen said in her speech that the momentum was clearly now on her side. Officials from Honduras says at least 16 people have been killed and 34 injured in a crash between a bus and a truck on the outskirts of the capital. A Honduran transit official speaking to the media about the specifics of the crash could not give an exact figure of the injured. Hospital officials said that the tabulation of the dead and injured was still being made. Police Transport Deputy Inspector Carlos Espana said that the crash took place about 10 kilometers outside the capital on a road heading to the south of the country. Local Serbs in Kosovo used bulldozers to demolish a wall they built in the ethnically divided city of Mitrovica following weeks of tension over the issue between Kosovo and Serbia. The Serbs, who do not recognize Kosovo as a state, started constructing the wall in December, saying it was to protect against a landslip. But the Pristina government said the structure was an attempt to further divide the city along ethnic lines and should be destroyed. Tensions have grown in recent weeks because of the wall, and a train sent by Serbia carrying the slogan "Kosovo is Serbia" was stopped by Kosovo border police. Kosovo, backed by the US and major Western European states, declared independence from Serbia in 2008. Belgrade considers it part of its territory and supports the Serb minority. The deal to destroy the 2-meter-tall concrete wall was reached following EU-mediated talks between the government in Pristina and Serb representatives. Visiting the demolition site, the European Union representative in Kosovo said the demolition of the wall showed that both parties could reach a deal when there was political will. Kosovo Prime Minister Isa Mustafa had threatened local Serbs that if they did not take down the wall, his government would do it. Kosovo Albanians make up more than 90% of Kosovo's 1.8 million population. Northern Kosovo is home to a Serb minority of around 40 to 50,000 people. Normalizing relations between Kosovo and Serbia is a key condition for both countries to progress in their bids to join the European Union. Vincent Abubakar scores a brilliant late goal to hand unfancied Cameroon a 2-1 victory over Egypt as they claim their 5th African Nations Cup title in the final in Gabon. Cameroon, who had 8 of their players withdrawn before the tournament, came from a goal down after midfielder Mohamed El Neni had put Egypt ahead midway through the first half. Nicola Nkulhu equalized on the hour, and as Egypt tried, Cameroon appeared to find a new gear, creating several chances before Abubakar laced the ball home in the 88th minute. It was Cameroon's first title since 2002 and denied Egypt a triumphant return to the tournament they last won in 2010, while at the same time inflicting a first loss on the North African side in 25 Nations Cup matches dating back to 2004. Cameroonians celebrated their national team's 2-1 victory against Egypt at the African Cup of Nations on Sunday night in the commercial capital of Douala. Supporters in Cameroon were ecstatic, saying they had broken the favourites to win Egypt. They praised the team and paid tribute to the women's team, who were beaten by Nigeria in the Women's Cup of African Nations last year. Cameroon twice lost the final to Egypt in 1986 and 2008. Cameroon's new coach, Hugo Broos, broke age-old tradition for this tournament by promoting younger players and leaving out more experienced players. With that, that's it for now. Stay tuned for more updates of recent current affairs stories here on Television Maldives. Thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening. Good night.